Good morning, Insta World. Hope everybody's doing well. Golly, it's hard to believe October's right around the corner. And while some of you celebrate football, I love football. Basketball is where my love is. As you can see, the basketball's behind. So WNBA is wrapping up. My first time going to Vegas is coming up for a conference. And the thing I'm sad about is the potential that the WNBA championship could be there literally 2 days before I get there. But thus is life. I'll have to move on. So I wanted to hop on here and I want to kind of get ahead of an article that's circulating that is speaking to if Reds really exist or not, like the boogeyman. And I will be completely transparent. I have skimmed the article. I have not completely read it. But the reason I think it's important to get ahead of this is in business and in the work I do, I really study consumer psychology. And I look at how individuals may misconstrue headlines or how they might end up, I don't like the word manipulate, but I think you know what I mean, what the intended purpose behind that. So when I first saw that headline, immediately I cringed because obviously I've spent my whole career devoted to this. I've wrote a book on it. I'm revising a new book in case you guys haven't heard that. I've been working on that as well. And then I took a deep breath and I'm like, all right, let's take a look at what they're saying here. And what they're saying is exactly why I created my course. So thank you. I appreciate it because now you've even given me more ammunition as to why individuals need to become Reds informed. You're exactly right. We know it's not calories in, calories out. We understand that it's all about the person in the thing that tips the scale into their dysfunction. But I also am mindful of the fact that I'm privy to supervise many brilliant dietitians and health providers, athlete providers as well. Some of them come from university settings where they're responsible for 500, 600 athletes. Some are like myself where I can see one individual at a time. So sometimes we do have to oversimplify things with like a wide net to start narrowing it down, right? It would be any different than if you filled out a screening questionnaire for a physical therapist and it asks, do you ever hurt when you run? I bet 100% of us will check yes, all right? Do you ever have calf pain? Why, yes, there was this one time my calf really tightened up and it hurt. Check. And then you go from there, right? And you narrow it down. That is exactly how we get to a diagnosis of Reds, right? It's a diagnosis of exclusion. And so what I'm fearful is going to happen is there may be an athlete out there. Again, I'm speculating. I will own it that I'm speculating. That's going to be like, see? It's not that I'm underfueling because Reds doesn't really exist. Or a coach is like, that's not really a thing. They're just throwing that out there. You just need to lean up and start training more. And then we're going to miss them. Because as I've said numerous times, I don't treat diagnoses, I treat people. So I don't give a damn what we call it, right? Because I have seen the athlete sitting across from me that has unfolded and wonders why every time they get to the end of the season and they put all this hard work in, they end up injured or they end up sick. Or the active individual is like, gosh, I thought I was doing what I was supposed to be doing. And now I'm worried because I haven't had my period for years that I may not be able to have children. Or I'm so sick of day in and day out, not being able to make sense of the fact that my stomach hurts. So I don't want to eat. And because I don't want to eat, I know I'm getting underfueled. We have known this for years. And that's why trying to provide programs that include the collaboration at the table between dietitians, medical providers, physical therapists, coaches. Because if we're Reds informed, we understand, okay, somebody comes in and they're having irritable bowel syndrome. And they struggle with constipation. That might impact their hunger and their fullness. That might impact their ability to tolerate intrafueling. And then I think, you know what? There's an overlap with pelvic floor dysfunction. Have you ever thought about seeing a REDS informed physical therapist that perhaps maybe there's some dysfunction in your muscular tone that helps with those smooth muscles to go to the bathroom? It's holistic, right? REDS is malnutrition on a spectrum. And these are some things that I have been on a soapbox for quite a while about, not just because I like to get on soapboxes. Maybe people in my family believe that, but honestly, I promise I don't. We have known how to assess and treat these secondary symptoms of malnutrition for years. That's what they do in the eating disorder world, right? We know that underfueling or stress or sleep impacts digestion. And here's some things that you can do. The other piece is I surround myself by colleagues that are better at what I don't know. My buddy Amy Schlepper, she is my go-to if I have a question on GI issues. We have Marco Polos like nobody's business. They're long, but we go back and forth to support each other. I have some of the most absolute incredible coaches and physical therapists that I can pick their brains or we can collaborate on, so that way we get an understanding of how nutrition can support them, or we might need an intervention. So yeah, my hackles comes up when I see things like, does REDS exist, and is it oversimplified? Yes, but how do we get them in the door? How do we start awareness as to the fact that these things have contributed to the dysfunction that they're experiencing today, yesterday? That's why in my course, we start with that net, and then we talk about assessing in a narrative, because it's always about their story, not our story, not a diagnosis, not a code. Then we go from there, and then we use a timeline to unfold that story. How did this develop? What did you experience? Okay, now we have our roadmap as to how we're going to get out of this and what things we might need to do in the future to prevent that. Notice I never said any diagnosis, right? And so, yeah, I am worried that when we get in these discussions, which needs to happen, but we need to have everybody at the table, because REDS is not a unicorn. We know these symptoms are secondary to malnutrition. And you notice I keep saying malnutrition. 1000%, it's not always that they had inadequate calorie intake. It might be perhaps, and here's another controversial term, overtraining. A mental health specialist who is REDS informed will know to sort out a clinical depression diagnosis versus overtraining by looking at the story. If they have been in a huge training block and they have had a lot of stressors at work and sleep has been off, nutrition's been off, then we know that's that fuel that crosses that blood-brain barrier that gives us mood and a motivation and a drive to eat is going to be impacted, right? So the chicken or the egg, did that tip the scale that started impacting their central nervous system that then trickled into underfueling? There's still power in nutrition. I also want to say and shout out to us dietitians and all the other athlete providers. Thank you. By the way, I now have a Hall of Fame, I call it, on my website to celebrate those that have taken the step to be a REDS informed provider. We know to look a lot deeper than that. And I don't want any athletes out there to just dismiss and be like, oh, it's just my GI issues, or oh, it's just my iron. That, to me, REDS is an umbrella term. It's an umbrella term for all the things that can create malnutrition. And yes, lack of protein can, lack of carbohydrates can, iron malabsorption can, but we still require a nutrition intervention or nutrition support. So if you have any difficulties finding a Reds Informed provider and you want to find somebody you want to see in person, or you want to find somebody licensed in your state, hit me up. I will find it for you. I am on a mission to put myself out of my job. If you want to take my course, DM me a book and I will give you a copy of my new revised book. I don't have a date on there because, to be honest, the way life tends to throw curveballs, I will give myself anxiety through the roof. I try to put a date on that, but I promise you I've been writing every day. If you're new to the field or you're an athlete yourself and you just want to learn more about it, then put a stop sign in my message and I will put you on the wait list for my intro exclusive to Reds course that's going to talk about this a little bit further. But like everything, can we just sit at a table and talk about this? Do we, controversy is great because now it's given me a platform that I can run with and be like, yeah, I get it. Like, you take my course, I'll show you how it's oversimplified, but how we don't need to make it as hard as it is. You don't know what you don't know. So let's start with that. And by asking questions, we can learn more. And if you're an athlete that's out there, just don't even worry about the diagnosis. If you have something that is impairing your love for your sport, your performance, your health, which is most important, then reach out. About 99.9% of the time, if not more than that, there's something that we can do to help support you and be able to have you go out and enjoy things fully. You know, I use enjoy loosely, right? There's some discomfort that comes with that, but even that's invigorating, right? Because we know that things are changing. All right, thank you for listening to my soapbox rant. Anybody got any questions that are out there, any comments, please post them. I appreciate you